What's one thing we'd be surprised to know about him?
He's incredibly intelligent. I think of all four of us in the family, he's the smartest. And not taking nothing away from my wife and my daughter, because they're pretty smart too.
Do you remember Sergeant Joseph Getraer from the TV series Chips, the serious, dedicated, and highly responsible officer? But behind that uniform, Robert Pine was more than just a familiar face on television. He was a man with a steadfast career, a scandal-free personal life, and a rare, enduring love in Hollywood. For over 60 years, Robert Pine has appeared in hundreds of films, becoming an inseparable part of the audience's memories from the 70s and 80s. But what sets him apart isn't just the sheer number of roles he's played, it's the way he has maintained a career free of controversy, a fulfilling family life, and a lifelong marriage to his one and only wife. An uncommon feat in the ever-changing, often tumultuous world of Hollywood. And perhaps fate has a strange way of weaving connections. While his son, Chris Pine, rose to stardom with Star Trek and Wonder Woman, Robert once stood alongside William Shatner, the original Captain Kirk, in a commercial, as if an invisible thread linked two generations. The story of Robert Pine is not just the journey of an actor, but a testament to resilience, an unwavering passion for the arts, and a love that has stood the test of time in an industry that is constantly in flux. He is not merely a man tied to Hollywood. He is someone who has truly lived his career and life to the fullest. Let's explore the journey of Robert Pine, from a young medical student who never imagined becoming an actor to one of the most familiar faces on American television, and the man behind the success of one of Hollywood's top leading men today. Robert Pine was born on July 10, 1941, in New York City, but most of his childhood was spent in Scarsdale, an affluent suburban enclave. It was a place of tree-lined streets, elegant homes, and a rigorous education system that shaped his way of thinking. As the son of a patent attorney, Robert grew up in a family of German and English descent, where academics were always the top priority. No one in the family, not even Robert himself, ever imagined he would become an actor. His future seemed neatly laid out: study diligently, pursue a stable and promising career, and follow the conventional path to success. With those expectations in mind, Robert chose to study medicine at Ohio Wesleyan University, intending to become a doctor. It was a logical choice by both family and societal standards at the time. However, as he delved deeper into his studies, he gradually realized that this path wasn't truly meant for him. The long hours in lecture halls, the intricate biological formulas, and the endless lab research, all of it failed to spark any real passion within him. The turning point came when Robert joined a summer theater program on Nantucket Island. At first, it was just a side experience, something to explore out of curiosity. But unexpectedly, it changed his life. On stage, Robert discovered a sense of freedom and exhilaration that medicine had never provided. And most importantly, renowned playwright Robert Anderson was there. Recognizing Robert's potential, he encouraged the young man to take acting seriously, a piece of advice that would alter the course of his destiny. After graduating from college, Robert Pine made a daring decision. He chose acting. In 1963, he left behind the stability of medicine and moved to Los Angeles, the city where Hollywood dreams lured thousands of young hopefuls every year. Luck didn't keep him waiting for long. Just a year later, in 1964, Robert signed a contract with Universal Studios, becoming one of the young actors formally trained under the studio system. At the time, Hollywood still operated on the contract actor model, where major studios would provide training and opportunities to promising talents, helping them gradually build their names in the industry. As a Universal contract actor, Robert not only received steady roles, but also underwent comprehensive training in acting techniques, from delivering lines on camera to practical skills tailored for different film genres. Since he frequently appeared in westerns, a dominant genre of the era, he took the time to learn horseback riding. This wasn't just a job requirement, it became an asset that allowed him to portray his characters with authenticity in films like The Virginian, Wagon Train, and Gunsmoke. Beyond westerns, Robert Pine also made appearances in popular television shows of the 60s and 70s, such as The Love Boat and Fantasy Island. However, despite his steady presence on screen, he had yet to land a truly career-defining role. One notable highlight from his early career was his appearance in the iconic 1967 film The Graduate, starring Dustin Hoffman. Though his role was a minor one, being part of such an influential movie was still a significant milestone in Robert Pine's journey. Looking back at the early years of his career, Robert Pine was not an overnight sensation, but rather a dedicated and persistent actor who worked tirelessly across dozens of films and TV shows. Though he had yet to find his breakthrough role, he had already built a solid foundation, something not everyone could achieve in the competitive world of Hollywood. In 1977, Robert Pine walked into an audition with little enthusiasm. When he heard about the project revolving around the California Highway Patrol, he couldn't hide his skepticism. Another cop show? Hollywood has already drained this genre dry. But CHIP's creator Rick Rosner was unwavering in his confidence. He declared, "This show is going to be a hit." And as it turned out, Rosner was absolutely right. At first, Robert Pine wasn't the only candidate for the role of Sergeant Joseph Getraer. The casting process experimented with different actor pairings for the two lead roles, John Baker, Larry Wilcox, and Frank Ponch Poncherello, Eric Estrada. In the end, Robert was selected alongside these two promising young stars, while another group of actors was kept as backup options, but failed to leave a strong impression. Even after being cast, Robert remained unsure about the project's potential. However, within just a few episodes of its premiere, CHIPS quickly became a television sensation, proving Rosner's prediction correct. Unlike traditional police dramas, CHIPS didn't center around intense crime cases or dramatic shootouts. Instead, it had a lighthearted, family-friendly tone, often infused with humor. Robert Pine later compared the show to a modern-day Western, where police officers didn't ride horses but rather steal steeds, their powerful motorcycles. The character structure was also well-defined. Sergeant Getraer was the strict, disciplined supervisor, John Baker played the level-headed mediator, and Ponch was the mischievous, trouble-prone officer. Each episode followed a familiar formula: 2 high-speed chases, a spectacular accident, and notably, no gunfire. The characters would only rest their hands on their belts as a warning, maintaining a safe and approachable tone for audiences of all ages. Ironically, despite having mastered horseback riding for Western films before arriving in Hollywood, Robert Pine was not skilled at riding motorcycles. During a pre-filming practice session, he lost control of his bike and crashed straight into a wall. From that moment on, the production team adjusted the filming approach. Robert would only ride in simple scenes, while stunt doubles handled the more complex chase sequences. The show had its fair share of real-life dangers. Eric Estrada, the breakout star of CHIPS, suffered a severe accident when his motorcycle flipped over, crushing his chest. The impact fractured his sternum and affected his heart. In a critical moment, Larry Wilcox performed CPR on Estrada, keeping him alive until paramedics arrived. Although the two were on-screen partners, they weren't always on good terms off-camera. Throughout the series, tensions between Eric Estrada and Larry Wilcox were common, creating an underlying strain on the set. Despite playing a key role in the show, Robert Pine wasn't initially in the audience's spotlight. When CHIPS first aired, most of the attention was focused on the youthful and charismatic duo of Eric Estrada and Larry Wilcox. In fact, for the first 3 months, Robert didn't receive a single fan letter, while his co-stars were flooded with mail every day. As rumors of conflicts on set circulated, Robert acknowledged the tensions but dismissed them as nothing more than family disagreements rather than serious disputes. He once remarked, "We worked together every day for years." Like any family, there were occasional arguments, but that didn't mean we didn't respect each other. After 5 successful seasons, the 6th season of Chips marked a major shift, and not for the better. Larry Wilcox left the show, prompting the producers to replace him with a new cast lineup. At the same time, the writing team took a different creative direction, transforming Chips from a classic police drama into a show with elements of science fiction and magic. For Robert Pine, it was a shocking departure from what Chips had always been. "I no longer felt like we were making Chips. We weren't highway patrol officers anymore. We felt like we were in some kind of bizarre sci-fi movie." The show lost its original identity, and as a result, viewership declined significantly. By the end of the 6th season, Chips was officially canceled, a decision Robert had seen coming. In an effort to expand his career, Robert had taken on a new challenge: directing. During the 5th season, he was given the opportunity to direct an episode, an experience he thoroughly enjoyed. He had hoped to continue down this path after Chips ended. However, reality proved harsh. When the show was over, his career stalled, and directing opportunities didn't come as he had envisioned. In the end, he had no choice but to return to acting. No TV show is perfect, and Chips was no exception. Despite its well-choreographed action sequences and thrilling high-speed chases, the show had its fair share of amusing technical blunders, from mysterious ghost figures appearing in scenes to disappearing props and bizarre accidents that left no trace. These little slip-ups not only gave eagle-eyed viewers a good laugh, but also became part of the show's lasting charm. One of the strangest errors occurred in the episode Moving Violation, where Ponch jumps onto a bus to rescue an elderly couple. The close-up shots look completely normal, but when the camera switches to a wide shot, a mysterious figure appears inside the bus, possibly a crew member caught on film or a stunt double standing in the wrong place. In the episode Career Day, Ponch reunites with his former high school principal, played by Richard Deacon. However, when he gives a speech to a room full of students, their hairstyles and outfits look like they belong in the 1960s rather than the late 1970s. Was this an accidental time travel moment in the Chips universe? Sharp-eyed viewers also noticed the reflection of an unidentified person in John's sunglasses while Ponch was writing a ticket for the principal. At times, Chips revealed its staged nature in hilariously obvious ways. In the episode Baby Food, vehicles in the background suddenly make abrupt U-turns for no apparent reason, clearly a sign of a planned shoot. A similar situation occurred in Taking Its Toll, where Sergeant Getraer, played by Robert Pine, appears on a television screen. When John turns the TV off and immediately picks it up, the strangest part is that the TV was never plugged in to begin with. Then there was the hustle, which left audiences scratching their heads with an unusual car crash. A vehicle suffers a heavy impact, but when the male character steps out to inspect it, there isn't a single dent. A few seconds later, when the female character touches the car, a dent suddenly appears, an unintentional self-healing trick that only Hollywood could pull off. It wasn't just action sequences that suffered from continuity errors. Props and costumes also played their part in Chip's magical inconsistencies. In the episode Hitchhiking Hitch, John and Ponch's helmets mysteriously vanish and reappear between shots. In another baffling moment, John picks up his radio to talk. But when the camera angle changes, the radio is suddenly back on his belt as if it was never used. Some production mistakes were simply too funny to ignore. In the episode Rainy Day, a stunt double with a noticeably larger head had to wear an oversized helmet to match the main actor. The result? Instead of looking like a highway patrol officer, the stunt double appeared as if he was preparing for a NASA space mission. Another wardrobe mishap happened in High Octane. When John first appears, he's wearing a short-sleeved shirt. But when the stunt double takes over for a dangerous scene, his arms are suddenly wrapped in bandages, almost as if the character had been injured before the accident even happened. Despite these technical errors, Chips was still known for its impressive practical stunts. Without today's CGI, every car crash was filmed with real vehicles, creating thrilling moments that kept audiences on the edge of their seats. In the episode The Volunteers, there was an accident involving zoo animals. But instead of using real animals, the production team opted for stuffed ones. The result? One of the most unintentionally hilarious and suspenseful moments in Chips history. Another noticeable staging blunder appeared in Repo Man. The villain, played by Mills Watson, had a distinct bald head. However, during a fight scene, his stunt double had a full head of thick hair, making the switch glaringly obvious and giving audiences an unintentional laugh. The episode Biorhythms also featured an explosive car stunt that looked so real that many viewers believed there were actual people inside. In reality, the production team cleverly used mannequins instead of real actors, showcasing their expertise in practical effects. Beyond its main cast, Chips also featured a mix of legendary Hollywood figures and rising stars. Several veteran actors made guest appearances, including Jim Backus, Gilligan's Island, Braddock Crawford, Highway Patrol, Ken Berry and Larry Storch, F Troop, and Tina Louise, Gilligan's Island. Even comedy legend Milton Berle made an appearance, bringing a unique comedic energy to the show. At the same time, Chips served as an early stepping stone for future Hollywood icons. Edward James Olmos, who later rose to fame in Miami Vice, appeared in one episode. Michael Dorn, best known as Lieutenant Worf in Star Trek: The Next Generation, also had a small role before launching his career into stardom. Few people know that Chris Pine, the modern-day Star Trek star, technically appeared in Chips before he was even born. His mother, Gwyn Gilford, played the wife of Sergeant Getraer in an episode of the show while she was pregnant with Chris. This means that, in a way, Chris Pine made his Chips debut long before his official entry into Hollywood. Another fun fact involves Michael Dorn. Before becoming a Star Trek legend, Dorn played Jebediah Turner in Chips. However, by the 6th season, due to contract disputes, he left the show and was replaced by Clarence Gilliard, who would later become famous for his role in Walker, Texas Ranger. The combination of humorous mistakes, thrilling stunts, special guest appearances, and behind-the-scenes stories is what made Chips more than just another police drama. It became a cultural touchstone of the 1970s and 80s, securing its place as a television icon. When Chips ended in 1983, Robert Pine quickly faced the harsh reality of Hollywood. Despite being a familiar face to television audiences for 6 years, he couldn't escape the immense shadow of Sergeant Joseph Getraer. When a show becomes iconic, it can bring fame, but it can also become a chain that limits an actor's career opportunities. Robert wasn't the only one to experience this struggle. Henry Winkler, who played Fonzie on Happy Days, was once the biggest star on TV, yet after the show ended, he found it difficult to secure diverse roles. For Robert Pine, the situation was even tougher. He wasn't the lead of Chips, so while he was typecast, he didn't have enough star power to leverage that recognition into bigger roles. While Larry Wilcox decided to step away from the entertainment industry to focus on business, and Eric Estrada continued acting but failed to land another major hit, the only cast member to truly rise from Chips was Michael Dorn. Playing Officer Turner in the final season, Dorn later joined Star Trek: The Next Generation, and became a sci-fi icon with his portrayal of Worf, one of the most legendary Klingon characters in Star Trek history. As for Robert Pine, his career didn't come to a complete halt, but it certainly wasn't as vibrant as before. He continued to make guest appearances on major TV shows such as Star Trek, Enterprise, Parks and Recreation, and NCIS. He also explored voice acting, contributing to Star Wars projects. However, gone were the days of long-running roles and the fame that came with playing an iconic character. There were moments when Robert questioned himself. Do I still have a place in Hollywood? But instead of walking away, he kept doing what he loved most: acting, whether on screen or on stage. Not everyone enjoys a decades-long high-profile career, but for Robert Pine, success isn't measured by fame. It's defined by resilience and longevity in an unforgiving industry. Hollywood may have moved on from Sergeant Getraer, but Robert Pine never walked away from Hollywood. In an industry where marriages often last no longer than a film contract, Robert Pine and Gwynne Guilford have achieved something rare, a bond that has endured for over 50 years. They were not only colleagues on screen, but also true soulmates in real life, a couple that managed to navigate both the dazzling lights of Hollywood and the ever-changing tides of life together. When Robert Pine took on the role of Sergeant Joseph Getraer in Chips, he had no idea that his wife, Gwynne Guilford, would also appear in the show as his on-screen wife. It wasn't just a fun coincidence. It was a reflection of their real-life partnership, a marriage built on unwavering support and companionship. But unlike Robert, Gwynne Guilford didn't choose to dedicate her entire life to acting. After becoming a mother, she made a bold decision to step away from Hollywood and pursue a different path, becoming a psychologist. To some, it may have seemed like an unexpected move, but for Gwynne, it was a deliberate and empowering choice. She didn't want to be trapped in an industry where a woman's career could be dictated by her age. Instead, she sought a profession where she could create lasting value, free from the harsh and often unforgiving rules of show business. Robert Pine fully supported his wife's decision. To him, Gwynne was always a strong and determined woman. They both understood that happiness wasn't just about professional success. It was about building a solid life together, and Gwynne succeeded. She not only became a devoted wife and mother, but also established herself as a respected psychologist, helping many people navigate their mental and emotional struggles. Gwynne's choice didn't just shape Robert's life, it had a profound impact on their son, Chris Pine. Growing up in a family where both parents had been actors, Chris was well aware of the pressures of the entertainment industry. But it was his mother's guidance that gave him a realistic perspective on his career. She once told him, "No one cares if you're tired or struggling. When you step in front of the camera, you have to do your job well." That mindset helped Chris Pine rise to the top of Hollywood while staying grounded, never losing himself to the trappings of fame. Looking back on more than half a century of marriage, Robert Pine has no regrets. He has not only built a stable career, but also nurtured a fulfilling family life. No matter how much Hollywood has changed or how unpredictable his career has been, he and Gwynne have remained each other's strongest pillars of support. And perhaps that is Robert Pine's greatest achievement of all. In a Hollywood that's constantly shifting, I've been fortunate to have one thing that has never changed: a life partner who has stood by me both on screen and in real life. Robert Pine. The Pine family is no stranger to Hollywood. Not only was Robert Pine a familiar face on American television, but his wife, Gwynne Guilford, also had a career in acting before transitioning to psychology. Together, they had 2 children. Their daughter, Catherine Pine, followed in her mother's footsteps and became a clinical psychologist. But the one who truly brought the Pine name back into the Hollywood spotlight was none other than Chris Pine, one of the biggest stars in modern cinema. Ironically, Chris Pine never intended to become an actor. Unlike many performers who grow up in showbiz families with a clear artistic path ahead, Chris never saw acting as his destiny. In his younger years, he struggled with severe acne, wore thick glasses, and hardly resembled the suave leading man he would later become. He pursued English literature at the University of California, Berkeley, simply because of his love for books. As a student, he spent a year abroad at the University of Leeds in England, where he first dabbled in theater. Even then, he didn't consider acting as a serious career choice. After graduating in 2002, Chris enrolled at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, yet his career path remained uncertain. He applied to the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, but financial constraints forced him to abandon that plan. To make ends meet, He worked a series of odd jobs, including waiting tables, baking, and handyman work, though he wasn't particularly skilled at the latter and ended up getting fired. At one point, he considered leaving Hollywood altogether and moving to New York in search of new opportunities. But just as he was about to give up, fate intervened. Within a single week, Chris received 3 different film offers. Chris Pine's first on-screen role came in ER, 2003, followed by guest appearances in CSI, Miami, The Guardian, and several other television series. However, his first major breakthrough came with his big-screen debut in The Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement, 2004, where he starred alongside Anne Hathaway. Over the next few years, Chris took on various roles in films like Just My Luck, Blind Dating, and Smokin' Aces, yet his career still hadn't skyrocketed. The defining moment came in 2009 when he was cast as Captain James T. Kirk in Star Trek. The film grossed $386 million worldwide, transforming Chris from a relatively unknown actor into one of Hollywood's brightest stars. Following the success of Star Trek, Chris Pine continued to thrive with blockbuster hits, including the Wonder Woman series, opposite Gal Gadot, Hell or High Water, which earned an Oscar nomination, Into the Woods, Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit, and Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. With his striking good looks, refined charm, and versatile acting skills, Chris became not only a sought-after leading man, but also a modern Hollywood icon. Beyond his film career, Chris Pine's personal life has also drawn attention. He has been linked to several high-profile women, including Olivia Munn, Zoe Kravitz, and Annabelle Wallis. Yet he remains unmarried. He has expressed a desire to have a large family, but has yet to find the right person. Due to his intensely private nature, rumors have even surfaced regarding his sexuality, which he quickly dismissed. Despite his fame, Chris has never forgotten to show admiration and respect for his father. In an interview, he excitedly spoke about Robert Pine's career. "My dad has had an amazing career. He got his SAG card in 1964, signed with Universal, got paid to be an actor, got paid to learn how to ride a horse. He was on The Virginian, Gunsmoke, The Love Boat, and my dad was in The Graduate." When Dustin Hoffman goes to the fraternity to find out where Catherine Ross's wedding is, there's a shot of Dustin talking to some guys in the bathroom, and my dear old Bob Pine is one of them. Then they cut back to Dustin, and I think my dad is the one who responds to him. Robert Pine, in turn, never hides his pride when talking about his son. "I couldn't be prouder." Chris is an incredibly hard worker. Although the Pine family never pressured Chris into acting, the artistic atmosphere in their home influenced him more than he realized. Dinner conversations weren't just about food. They were filled with discussions about auditions, director feedback, and behind-the-scenes stories from Hollywood. One of Chris Pine's most memorable childhood experiences involved legendary comedian Jonathan Winters, a close friend of Robert Pine. As a kid, Chris often answered phone calls from Winters, but these weren't ordinary calls. Winters would slip into character and deliver lengthy 20-minute monologues, spinning wild, hilarious stories that defied belief. Chris recalled, "Jonathan Winters would call, but Jonathan was Jonathan. He would play a character and go into these long 20-minute monologues like, 'This is Fern Cappadocia from the marketing department at Warner Brothers. Is Bob Pine there?' He would just keep going with these absurd, ridiculous stories." The strong bond between father and son wasn't just evident in their daily lives, but also in their shared philanthropic efforts. One of their most cherished moments was co-hosting the Los Angeles Children's Hospital Gala in 2022. Chris Pine reflected on the experience. "Being in a position to give back, whether financially or with our time, is an incredible privilege. To share that with my dad and to read stories to the kids together was truly special." Robert Pine wholeheartedly agreed. "Sometimes you're asked to do things. Some are easy yeses and some are harder yeses. But this was an easy yes. I mean, why wouldn't we? Bringing joy to these kids is an honor. Robert Pine may not have been a Hollywood megastar, but he remained a familiar face on American television for over 6 decades. Chips cemented him as a lasting part of pop culture for audiences of the 70s and 80s, but his legacy extends far beyond a single role. With more than 400 film and television appearances, he stands as one of the most enduring actors in Hollywood, a presence that has remained constant despite the industry's ever-changing landscape. Rather than chasing the brightest spotlight, Robert Pine built a career marked by dedication, reliability, and longevity, an achievement not easily attained in such an unpredictable field. Beyond the screen, Robert Pine has left a meaningful impact through his contributions to the community. He has been actively involved in charitable causes, particularly with the CHP 1199 Foundation, an organization that provides support to the children of California Highway Patrol officers. Having portrayed a law enforcement officer on television, he transformed that connection into real-world action, offering tangible help to families in the profession. Even as many of his contemporaries have stepped away from Hollywood, Robert Pine continues to work, doing what he loves. Though his name may not be tied to blockbuster franchises, new generations still recognize him through his appearances in popular films and TV series, a testament to a career built not on spectacle, but on steady, unwavering commitment. Even in his 80s, Robert Pine has no plans to step away from the spotlight. He continues acting, attends events alongside his son, Chris Pine, and remains active in the entertainment industry. In 2022, the father and son walked the red carpet together at the 5 Days at Memorial premiere, marking a touching moment where 2 generations of actors shared the stage. But that wouldn't be the last time audiences saw them together. Most recently, on April 24, 2024, Robert Pine appeared at the premiere of Pullman at the Vista Theater in Los Angeles. The film was directed by and starred Chris Pine, a major milestone in his son's career. More than just supporting Chris, Robert remains deeply involved in community work. On November 22, 2024, he and Chris participated in a storytelling event at the Los Angeles Children's Hospital, bringing joy to young patients with imaginative tales. Their efforts didn't stop there. On December 17, 2024, they continued their charitable work by raising funds for the Season of Giving program, reinforcing Robert's lifelong dedication to giving back. Today, Robert Pine resides in California with his wife, Gwen Guilford, his partner of over half a century. Meanwhile, their son, Chris Pine, has established himself as one of Hollywood's leading actors, yet he remains unmarried, a topic that continues to intrigue the public, as Chris is both a major heartthrob and intensely private about his personal life. Though he no longer appears on screen as frequently, Robert Pine remains connected to the industry, occasionally making television appearances and attending Chips reunion events. His continued presence is a testament to the enduring legacy he has built, proving that no matter how much time passes, his impact on audiences has never faded. Happiness is not a destination, but a journey. And for Robert Pine, that journey has spanned over 60 years, with more than 400 screen appearances, from television classics to major film projects. He may not have been a box office sensation, but he became an irreplaceable part of American television. A familiar face, a dedicated actor, and above all, a father who inspired the next generation. Chris Pine may be one of Hollywood's leading men today, but would he have reached such heights without Robert Pine, a father who led by example with unwavering passion and perseverance? Robert's legacy isn't just defined by the roles he played, but by the fire he passed on, ensuring that his journey continues through those he has inspired. Hollywood is ever-changing, but figures like Robert Pine stand as a testament to one undeniable truth: passion knows no age, and even as the stage lights may dim, he continues to shine in his own way. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to join us on our journey through the lives of Hollywood's most unforgettable figures. And let's continue to support the career of Robert Pine, a man who never stops moving forward.